What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. It is Saturday, the 11th. What a wild couple days in the market it's been. Stock market, cryptocurrency market, Bitcoin heading down, lower. The stock market, S&P 500 heading down, lower. We're going to take a look today at Apple, ticker symbol AAPL, daily chart, share a few of my thoughts here, and then we'll wrap this video up. Hope you guys have a great weekend. So let's jump into the chart, guys, and see what's going on with the big old Apple stock. So here we are looking at a daily chart of Apple. A couple things here. Apple has had a very, very strong run up basically since the first of the year. Let's see, we're up roughly 27% to that high, and then we're about 19% to where we are currently trading at this year. So not too bad for Apple. What's going on here? We were actually getting ready for a big Apple breakout to the upside, and then we've had gotten this little pause in the market, this pretty decent pullback in the recent past couple days here. So what can we look for in the week ahead? Like I said, today is the 11th of March. So we had a pretty ugly candle take place on the 6th of March. That was not good. It was a strong day to start, a weak day to end. Big price gap between the 3rd and 4th, the 3rd and 6th, through a weekend. And then the price has faded ever since. So when we get price gaps in the market, which is where the price closes to where the price opens, there's some untraded, there's an untraded area there, and that usually will get filled. So what that means is the price will usually trade back down to that level to close that gap. So we had a gap, like I said, between the 3rd and the 6th, which basically got filled on the 7th and definitely finished off that on the 9th. And then the price as Friday was down once again. Looks like $2, 1.39%. So we have another small price gap down here between the 3rd and the 2nd of March. There's a chance that could get filled. We had a pretty weak close on Friday in the S&P 500. The NASDAQ I haven't quite looked at yet, but I would imagine it wasn't that strong, judging by how Apple finished the week. So there's a chance we could, like I said, trade lower. We could trade at least down to this high, which would be $1, which would be 146.71. The low of the 3rd was 147.33, and this high is 146.71. So there is a small price gap there that could get filled. Something to keep an eye on would be this low, the low of the 2nd. Ideally, not undercutting that low would be good, and that would still give us some hope that this thing could reverse and head back to the upside. And I do think that is what is going to take place. But like I said, to fill that gap, I think we actually might head lower first before heading back to the upside. We have some major resistance basically right in this 155.29 area, right where that blue line is on the chart. Some resistance right there. You see the price tried once on the 3rd of February, twice on the 16th of February, 3 times on the 6th of March. It tried to break out above that level and has been pushed back to the downside. You can see resistance over here as well, basically at that same area on the 28th of October last year, 2022. So a couple takeaways here for Apple. We're still in this, we're in a longer consolidation, but we're in a short-term uptrend. So the uptrend here, let me get the drawing tool here. So we have this move to the upside. We have a higher low, and then we have bounced, but we're pulling back. So when I say this low over here is important, we don't want to undercut that. That would actually be a change in trend. That wouldn't be the greatest for the bulls. Now that low could get undercut and the price could reverse and head back to the upside. It's a possibility. It's just the odds start to flip if we undercut that low, that any rally we get will not hold. So that's why I bring that up. Assuming we get a higher low somewhere within this range, keeping the low of the second good, we don't undercut that, then we expect a rally, and we expect a big breakout past this zone here at some point. We will be looking to buy Apple if that takes place around that 155 area as a breakout potentially takes place here for Apple. Depends on what the rest of the market does. Of course, right now, not looking too good, but things can change quickly. There's a lot of negative news out there, and sometimes that is a good thing, and the market will actually turn on that and head back to the upside. Nasty week, but things can change quick here in the stock market. Just like a couple days ago, the market was looking great. It was gapping up to the upside, looking good. Things flipped, and we have been heading to the downside. So what we're looking for, like I said, is a big break outside of this zone to the upside. We don't want to undercut the low on the 2nd of March. We do have a gap between the 2nd and 3rd of March that might get filled. And even if we filled that gap, we would still be at a higher low. So the gap and then the resistance up here in the 155 area are two things to keep an eye on. If the low gets undercut, then the odds start to flip that any rally we get is going to fail and will continue to the downside. Let's take a zoom out, guys, on Apple here. And you could see that we are in this very long, choppy, slightly higher price, but basically choppy sideways consolidation. Let me zoom this out a little bit. So you can see here that this has a rough topping pattern to it, which is a concern. It's definitely a valid concern. I'm trying to get the right tool here. Basically kind of a rounding topping pattern here. So far, all these sell-offs have been getting bought up and we have rallied. Our most recent rally is still holding well because we didn't undercut that low yet. But there's that chance. If the market is done and it's going to roll over, then Apple at some point is not going to be able to buck that trend essentially and continue its uptrend. It's just not going to happen. Maybe for a little bit, but it's not going to basically decouple from the NASDAQ, the stock market. So that's a concern. Also, though, sometimes, so real quick, step back. Market reversals, stock reversals usually happen like from the inside out. So what that means is, yes, we do have this massive, basically 2 or 3 years or so of choppy sideways consolidation in Apple. So yes, this does look and has a very good look of a rounding topping pattern, but within this is a smaller trend reversal. And I will show you that. We just talked about that we have a larger, broad topping, rounding topping pattern. But within that, we have this massive rally, I think it was a 27% rally, basically. We're up basically 19 or 20%. We have a higher low, and we're looking for another higher low here. And then that could actually set us up for that big breakout that we talked about, which would be something like this, past that 155 area. Depends on what the market does, though. I keep going back to that because it's important. It might be able to buck the trend for a little while, but not the overall market rules at the end of the day. So we have this larger rounding topping pattern, but within that, we are potentially in the early stages of a big breakout to the upside. I've talked about this in other videos, cryptocurrencies and stocks. I can't pinpoint one, but I know I've spoken about it. That when you get a rally, so say we're in a downtrend and the market is trending lower, so we have, a lower high. This is essentially an equal low, a lower high, a lower low. Then we get another, almost a higher high, but not quite. When we get that pullback right to this circle here, that higher low is a key to keep your eye out on, because what can follow that higher low is a massive move to the upside. So the reason why that is because people are getting short again, and then it gets them caught off guard, and the market actually rallies, creating short covering. So you want to keep an eye out for that higher low, and we actually got that massive 3-day move to the upside with two gaps, very, very strong to the upside. So far, we've been pulling back. That was basically a 8+% move off of that higher low. And what's the reverse of that? The reverse of that would be a lower high. So when the markets are rallying, you can see it. Let's see if I can find you a decent example here. Let's see here. So it's not perfect, but here's an example of, there's a couple lower highs in here. It's a little choppy. We have a nice rally, basically a higher low, lower high, sharp move down. That's actually a higher low, not higher than, or that's a lower high, excuse me, not higher than this high, but higher than this high. Sharp sell off to the downside. So it's the same thing, just reversed. So a couple takeaways here is, you want to keep your eye on the gap down here between our dates of the 3rd and 2nd of March. That might get filled this week if the markets continue to sell off. What I'm keeping my eye on above the market is that 155 range. Looking for a strong move up to that area. And if the price gets up there, we are going to buy Apple. It might not happen, but if it does, that's the side of the trade we're on, is we're going to get long Apple stock. So that's 2 takeaways. 3 takeaways is, watch the low here, guys, on the 2nd of March. That low is 143.90. We don't want to see an undercut of that. If we see an undercut of that, that means we have a short-term change in trend to the downside. It could still be flipped, though. The market could still rally from there. It's just the odds start to favor more downside action than upside. Also, we'll mention that the RSI is trending down. Something to keep in the back of your mind. I don't put too much weight on RSI unless it's at extremes, either extremely overbought or extremely oversold, but it is trending down. It's basically mid-range, so not too much to take away from that. So we were actually getting bullish on Apple over on the 6th and 3rd of March, but then, like I said, the market reversed. Apple had pulled back, so now we just kind of wait on the sidelines for strength to come back in. And if it does, that's fine. We'll get on board. If it doesn't, then we just continue to wait. At some point, it will rally, and we'll be able to get into a long Apple position. Let's take a look, guys, at the SPX real quick while we're on this. So the SPX actually made a very, very large move to the downside last week, closing down. Friday was a 1.45% day, down 56 bucks. The S&P 500 is in bearish territory. Now, it could reverse, but the odds, like I said, favor more downside than upside. It also tells us that the rallies are more likely to fail than to hold. Going back to that, we want to keep an eye out for that higher low. So the SPX could rally next week. We could rally, get a pullback. That pullback is what you want to keep your eye on because that next move is a higher high, and it could be very strong, and that gives us a confirmed change in trend. That's perfect case scenario. Doesn't always work out that quick. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. Sometimes it happens in a couple days. But just like right here, guys, what's the opposite of that? The opposite of that would be a lower high right here. Rally up, lower high, very weak candle. What followed? A massive, massive move to the downside. So we'll see. The SPX is in bearish territory. We'll see if it stays or not. Take a look at Snapchat real quick while we're on this. I want to show you an example. We got very bullish on Snapchat on the 6th and the 7th of March. Well, it wasn't quite ready. It failed along with the rest of the market and had pulled back. We were in a long Snapchat trade and got stopped out because it started to show weakness. And we don't know how low it'll go. We can always get back in when it shows strength, but we don't want to hold this thing, essentially down to nothing if it's not going to get strong again and show some strength. So we wait for the market to show strength. We wait for Apple to show strength, and we have patience, and we keep an eye on cryptos. That's what we do, and stocks and futures. So that's my thoughts on Apple, guys. I do think at some point, like I said, it's going to have a massive move to the upside, but things take time and got to have some patience. So guys, welcome to the channel. If you are not yet subscribed, go ahead and do so. Hit that thumbs up. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Appreciate it. You guys have a great weekend. We'll be back with some more videos throughout the weekend. Once again, it's the 11th. It's Saturday. It's March. Have a great evening.